Hey there, everybody. James here, and back with another watch review. This one, the Grand Seiko Night Birch. This is reference number SLGH017. So this is part of the Evolution 9 collection from Grand Seiko. It's one of their newer lines. I believe it was just released earlier this year. And, I gotta say, I have a couple of Rolex watches. You can see the reviews for those also on my channel. And, I had heard a lot about Grand Seiko, read a lot about Grand Seiko, just kind of an interesting brand, interesting story, kind of a lot of history, a lot of kind of romance around, where they're made and the inspiration that they get from the landscapes. There's like the Snowflake and, other dials that are fairly well known in the watch world. But, this was new for me. I actually was on a vacation recently and spent a couple of days in Miami. And there was a Grand Seiko boutique there. And I had never been to a boutique. I had only seen pictures and videos online, things like that, other reviews. And I got to say, I was pretty blown away, being in the boutique and actually getting to look at these, pick them up, just shine them in different lights and things like that. And this one, is one of the last ones that I looked at in the store. And there's also, there's the regular birch version, which is like a silver dial with kind of a similar texture. And I was just blown away by this one. They're just for a lot of different reasons. And so, to give you a little more, and this is right off the website here. So again, this one is the Night Birch from Grand Seiko. It's got a 40 millimeter case size to it. So a very moderate case size, not huge by any means. Again, I have a 42 and a 44 millimeter Rolex, which are a lot heavier because this one is also made out of what they call high intensity titanium from Grand Seiko. So a little bit different material for the case and for the watch design. The thickness is 11.7 millimeters. So, relatively thin. And the way that it's designed here, the watch is made to have kind of a lower center of gravity. So you can kind of see it contours a little bit in terms of the case so that it sits well on your wrist as well. 47 millimeter length in terms of lug to lug. And then from the lug spacing, it's 22 millimeters wide here with the lug spacing. Now, the other thing to call out is this normally comes with a titanium bracelet, which I did not decide to wear because I love matching my straps to the dial. So this is also a Rubber B product. I've talked about this on a couple of my other reviews, but I really love Rubber B products. They're fantastic. So this is a espresso brown. They have this, it's kind of, a funny thing to say, but it's a vegan alligator leather strap. So it's actually, a highly vulcanized rubber that's made to look like alligator leather so that you don't have to worry about ruining the strap in water or anything like that. So again, this is a rubber strap, but they make it, even the feel of it, it has a good kind of alligator feel as well. It doesn't necessarily feel like rubber. On the backside, you can obviously feel it a little bit more. But so this is a Rubber B strap as well. You can see on the back here, we've got the sapphire case back, so you can see right through it. And this is one of their high beat movements. So it's 36,000 hertz. Power reserve is 80 hours, which is really, really amazing. So, again, I'm by no means am I a watch expert, but essentially what they do here is they have two barrels in the watch, and you can see them right here. And what it does, from how I understand it, is it actually more evenly distributes the movement in the watch, and it allows this little guy, the balance, to run at a much higher frequency. And so basically what that means is the movement on the second hand is smoother than like a 28,000 hertz watch. So if you compare this to, again, I've got a couple other pieces over here. Let me just grab one of the other ones, if I can get it out. Because Grand Seiko is famously known for the spring drive as well, which is like a really, really smooth movement. It's like, it doesn't even look like there's any ticking. It just looks like it's going in a straight line. So, here's my Rolex Sky Dweller. And if you can see it, it's kind of a subtle difference, but if you can kind of see the second hand, it's got a little bit more of a pause for each tick. Like it's not as much of a smooth sweep. And so with the high beat movement, you can see here, it's a little bit smoother. And that's because of that high beat movement that's in there. So again, it also makes it more efficient, hence the 80-hour power reserve. And it's really, a beautiful case back. I know that they do take some inspiration for some of the case or the interior designs from where they make these watches. I've heard like they use like a river for inspiration for some of them. So very, very interesting stuff. This one also has a water resistance of 100 meters. So that's nice. You don't really have to worry about it getting wet. You could swim with it. You can do whatever you need to there. And then the accuracy it talks about here is +5 to -3 seconds per day. So caliber 9S-A5, which is again a relatively newer caliber for Grand Seiko, more efficient, higher power reserve, and smoother movement overall. So that's some of the technical details. Again, you can read more about it on the Grand Seiko website. So you can see here, it's got a date on it, and then it also has the seconds hand. Pretty simple, but I think it also could be a really great, like even a Rolex Datejust could be a great alternative to that. The other thing that they are famously known for here, and you can see it a little on the case, is what they call the Zaratsu polishing. And, it's a process that Grand Seiko uses. But basically what it does on the case is it eliminates some of the distortion. So you get a truer shine on there. You don't end up with your, if you're looking at your face in the side of the case, you don't end up with your face being all distorted. It looks fairly normal. But the real place that I think this one stands out is the polishing on the hour markers and the texture on the dial. That was really, again, when I was looking at it at the boutique, that was really what kind of did it for me, and really sold me on this watch. So the Night Birch, that name, it comes from some of the birch forests that they do have, again, in Japan, where they have one of their design studios. And that's how they find inspiration for their dial designs. So again, there's the snowflake, there's the skyflake, there's others that look like water or the sky, things like that. And this is no exception to that. So again, you can see the background is just kind of this like, it's almost was hard to tell. I mean, it looks like a real dark brown or almost a black, dial color. And that's why I thought that the, strap kind of having both colors on it works really well. And depending on the lighting, kind of a little bit lighter makes it look brown. And if you're looking straight into it, it almost looks black. Again, there's a silver birch or, a regular like white birch version of this watch, which is also extremely nice. It's made in steel instead of titanium. But, if you like a lighter dial that's got a little bit of a shine to it, which again, this one does, but it's so hard without seeing it in person. The video doesn't quite give it the attention that it deserves. So if you like a lighter dial, you can also find that version of the watch. But, there's some nuances here on the dial that, that are interesting. So the hour hand back here is actually the same width at the end of it. So it's made to match exactly the width of the hour markers, which I thought was really interesting. The minutes hand obviously has much more of a point to it. So you got that precision in terms of being able to tell the time. Some dials obviously struggle with legibility, but here for this one, you can see it's real legible. And especially again with the Zaratsu polishing on the hour markers. I mean, that was one of the things that caught me in the boutique was if you get it in the right light, with the hour markers here, it almost has this like prism effect, where you just see rainbow just fly off the hour markers because it reflects the light and just throws it so well. So that was one of the things that really struck me here about this one. So, to give you just a kind of a brief tour of how to function and work with the watch here. So I'm going to screw out the crown. The first position when I pull it out is going to be a unidirectional date setting. So, again, it just moves in a single direction here. When I pull it out to the second position, then it hacks the movement. So you can see that the seconds stop, and then I can, go in either direction here. I will also drive the date doing this as well. So if I were to set the watch back if I were to set it back to today, let's see, it's the 22nd today. And I already missed it. So I'm going to go to the day before, and then I'm going to use the hour adjustment to drive the date forward. So let me pull that out, and then we'll go forward here. And then we can see it's at 22. And it is in the afternoon here. Let me check the time. So, pretty straightforward, time and date style watch, but really, really a beautiful one. If I can't recommend it highly enough. If you haven't looked at Grand Seiko, I definitely would. In terms of pricing, these are super, super reasonable. And, the difference, like I said, I have a couple of Rolex watches. The difference really between this one and a Rolex right now is you can actually walk into a boutique and buy it, which is what I did. And so, like I say, if it would have been a Rolex dealer where I would have had to get on a waiting list or something like that, I don't know that I would have walked out of there with another watch. But because of the fact that they had them in stock, and I think it was the only one they had of these at the boutique, because from what I understand, I think this is one of the lesser produced models that they make. But it was nice. It was nice to be able to go there and look at the different pieces that they had, and walk out with it on the wrist. So let me put it on for you here. Again, this bracelet is brand new, so it's still a little bit stiff. But let me go ahead and throw this on. Again, my wrists are very, very small in diameter, or in circumference, sorry. Probably talking about under 6 inches, or right around 6 inches in circumference. So fits very nicely on my wrist. The lugs are kind of right at the edge there of my wrist, but sits really well. Here's a little bit farther out. But again, to me, the real showstopper here is just when you get it in the right lighting conditions, you really can see how it throws the light. I mean, it's really impressive. And again, pictures and videos don't quite do it justice, but it is a beautiful, beautiful piece. I love the rubber bee strap on it. The buckle is kind of massive, I will say, because I have, again, very small wrists, but I don't mind it because the strap works so well. So pricing on this one, right around 11,000 or just under 11,000. So again, compared to any other Rolex watch, if you can get one at retail, it's in the range right there with your Datejust and things like that. But a lot of watches, obviously, for Rolex, you're having to wait, you're having to get them secondary because they aren't available to just walk into a dealer. But Grand Seiko, nope, you can walk right in, you can see it, you can try it on. The rep that I worked with was very knowledgeable about a lot of the richness of the stories behind these watches and behind the history. So would highly recommend, if you have a Grand Seiko boutique anywhere nearby, stop in, check it out, take a look at some of them, because they are beautiful, beautiful watches. And as always, I'm a huge fan of the rubber bee straps. So if you don't like your regular bracelets that come on a lot of watches, which, I typically don't, rubber bee is a great alternative. They have some, for Rolex, they have blocked integration, which is like, it makes it, fit perfectly with the case, kind of like this one does here. But they also have a lot of universal straps that work well, whether you want the actual, leather type material or like a faux leather like this one where it's rubber but it looks like alligator. You can get kind of whatever suits your style. So thanks for taking a look at the Grand Seiko Night Birch. I hope you'll consider adding something like it to your collection. I'm very glad that I did to mine, and enjoy. I hope I will see you again soon. Bye now.